Jimmy Weaver's about to speak. He's the Republican Party chair of Kaufman County.
Maybe if you want to, it's your first time visiting. Good morning, everybody. I want to first off thank everybody for coming out. You know, one way Democrats did us a favor, they they cured COVID-19, so we're about that. But we knew there had to be a cure to it. We just didn't know what it was going to be. But anyway, this is the reconvening of the original county convention, which was actually scheduled on March 21st. On that day, me and Larry Field, we met and we adjourned the meeting. We didn't close the meeting, we just adjourned it. And that was due to the COVID-19 rule of the governor's order, the CDC recommendation. Anyway, today, at 10:06, the meeting has been reconvened. So, welcome. I'm Jimmy Weaver, and County Chairman of Kaufman County, and I'll be the temporary chairman until we go through the procedure to elect a permanent chair. And prior to that, we've got a few things that we need to get started off. Mr. Marty Reed?
Yes, sir.
Could you please stand and give the invocation, please?
Yes. Father, we thank you for the day. Thank you for blessing us to live in a country that is allowed to participate in the political process and choose our own leaders. Lord, this county convention is an important step in that process, and so, Lord, we ask you to lead, guide, and direct us, that we might choose the right people to lead us in public office. Lord, today we find our nation in extreme stress, and so, Lord, we pray for your peace. We proactively pray, Lord, that you would go before us, prepare the way, unite us, help heal all the hurts and the pains, that we can once again be one nation under God, indivisible. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Please stay standing.
They're in the corner.
Here you go.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's coming.
I'll stay back here.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Amen. Okay, in accordance with the rules of 1830 conventions, I have named Jason Johnson as the temporary Sergeant at Arms. Laura Hughes will be the temporary Secretary of the Convention. Charlotte Green will be the temporary Parliamentary of the Convention. And these officers shall remain in place and serve as directed until we have a permanent election of each of them. The temporary Credentials Committee Chair.
Evidently, she doesn't agree with you, Jimmy.
Mr. Larry Rosalic will be the Credentials Committee Chair. Temporary Rules Committee will be Mr. Bill Baker. Permanent Organization Committee will be Mr. Bill Baker. Temporary Resolutions Committee Chair will to be Mr. Ray Myers. And temporary nominations committee chair will be Ms. Lori Leonard. The agenda, this will be so we'll know what's going to happen, just to keep everybody informed. We called the order. First thing we're going to do is give a roll call on temporary delegates, report the temporary credentials committee, the temporary rules committee, report on permanent organization, and appoint permanent nominations. This will all take place when we move through the convention. There will be a recess after we get the permanent convention chairman and members appointed. Then we'll get a report from the permanent nominations committee, report from the permanent resolutions committee, other business and announcements and adjournment. Now, in addition to that, we have some elected officials that are here. I saw Mr. Keith Bell, and Mr. President, that's your wife with you?
Yes, I'm dead.
And who else? Flora Hughes. And who else? Anybody? Mr. Steve Phillips, Commissioner Precinct 2. And Ms. Barbara Jo Green, school board member from Wayne ISD. And we've got a candidate here, Chad. Is Chad Johnson still here? Yeah, I'm here. Okay, Chad's here. Did Sheldon show up? No Sheldon.
Stephen Stanley.
Any other officials or candidates on the ballot?
Steve Stanley.
Steve Stanley, is he still here?
Yeah, I think he just left.
He left.
Steve Stanley's running for the SRC rep for Senate District 2. And that's important because that will be one of the people that we do vote on at state. And I know that I'm kind of told that Sherman Dickey may show up, and then we've got his competitor, Mr. Alvin West, Colonel Alvin West, and he may also show up. So we might expect him sometime later. And Mr. Bob, Senator Bob Hall will be here today too. Just to be waiting for him on that.
Tim, you also have another candidate.
I'm sorry?
You have another candidate for precinct 14.
Oh, that's right, Troy Green, precinct chair, box 14. He will be,
I'll be on the ballot.
he'll be on the ballot coming up. And incidentally, the ballot, early voting starts June 29th. One of the most recent emails that I got. So, go to election time in the final election, there will be 16, 17 boxes. I think one of them don't have it. But, in addition to that, another announcement.
Turn your cell phone to mute.
Yes.
Everybody knows that there's been legislation taking place on trying to get mail-in ballots for everybody connected to the COVID-19. That went to the 5th District Court again, and I think they upheld the Texas ruling on that there will be no early voting as far as disability is concerned, no special consideration for that. So that came in last night, 5 o'clock. So it's all new. This time I'm going to have the secretary take the roll call of all the delegates present. As she calls your name, please stand and state the box that you are in. For example, each chair, box 1, box 2. I want you to let her know which box you're in because this is a weighted situation on the vote count. So she needs to know exactly which box you're in and how many people are present in that box. Roll call. Larry, are you here? Greg Rosali?
Yes.
You got the roll call, Keith?
The secretary will read the roll call, that's all people
Pardon?
that were on the list to be delegates, that's not all those present.
didn't hear you there.
The roll is determined by the list submitted by each precinct. And that is not all the people that are here. She doesn't have it, I will have to do that.
I've got a condensed version of the list of delegates. Each person, each boss can stand as they stand, they can be checked out.
We don't actually have to do that because I will call the address later.
Everybody check your box, see your seating location, make sure you're in the right box location.
Delegates that have signed in this morning because it looks like so about half the people who were elected as delegates at their convention have shown up. So I'm just going to read off the ones that I have here. When I get through with each box, if you are here to represent your precinct and I didn't call your name, let me know. I'm starting off with precinct or voter box 1, which is precinct box 1. There are 30 precincts, don't get that confused with the commissioner precincts. I have no one here from box 1. Box 2, I have no one. And voter box 3, I have Robert Marino and Sherry Marino. Okay, and box 4, I have no one at this point. Box 3, well, I just got through calling on box 3.
You can call her name.
Okay. You sign it late. After. Okay. Well, look at you, those that came in after the meeting started, that list is still being updated at the front. We'll update it when we're done here. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. Box 4, we had no one. There was no convention. In box 5, box 6, there is no one here. Box 7, we have Daryl Coleman. We have Matt Sharman. No convention was held in box 8. Box 9, we have Judy Shane and Kenneth Shane. In box 10, we have Pam Porter. And we have Kathy Ann Reed. And box 10, let's see, we still have Jimmy Weaver, Marilyn Weaver. Jimmy Weaver, Marilyn is not here. We also have Susan Den, Albert Den.
It's 11.
I'm sorry, I'm in box 11 now. Box 11, I'll start over. Susan Den, Albert Den, Ken Leonard, Lori Leonard, Michael Jackson Myers, Ray Myers, Sonia Myers. We have Darla Reffitt, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We have David Robertson, Pat Robertson. That's all in 11 that I have.
So, going to see.
Or the sheriff seat.
Yeah, y'all came in. Okay, we'll
He
get
signed it out there.
Yes, sir.
Next item is the address of church.
Again, we're here live at the Kaufman County Republican Convention.
I'm sorry, 12. Kate Janet Bailey, Dennis McKee, Barbara McKee, Terry Williams, Robert Williams. Box 13, I have Audia Davis, Rick Jackson, Deborah Jackson, Stan Capp, George Kramer. Box 14, I have Barbara Baker, James Baker, Vicki Davis, Barbara Jo Green, Charlie Green, Laura Hughes, Samantha Keats, Steve Phillips, Lori Quinn, and Johnny Tarno. Box 15, there was no convention. Box 16, I have no one. Box 17, we got Dave Fowler, Cody Pritchett. Box 18, we have Rick Panetta. Box 19, we have Bill Baker, Kathy Baker. Box 20, there was no convention. Box 21, we have Ann King. Box 22, we have me, Larry Grzali. Box 23, we have Ronnie Oakfield, Mike Seaman. 24, we have Lori Cook, John Cook, April Kyle, Myra Shiflett. Box 25, we have Stuart McGregor, Malia Reed, Marty Reed, Maudie Thornell, I'm sorry. No convention in box 26. In box 27, we have Annette Bell and Keith Bell. We have Jose Rodriguez and Sandra Rodriguez. In box 28, we have no one. Box 29, no convention. In box 30, we have Keith Vanderveer. And did I miss anyone except those people who received? It was just you three, is that right? Okay.
Thanks, Larry. We're gonna take a few minutes here to let the secretaries get caught up on the count for all delegates. For all of you in this process, this is a weighted vote. So, for example, box 1 had 100 votes in that box. Only one person showed up. His one vote or her one vote counts as 100 votes. If there's two people that split 50-50, that's only if we have a roll call vote. I don't think it's going to happen, but they have to take all the people present, count them up individually per box to get the delegation and the weighted vote count for that delegation. So it's not as easy as just counting heads. It gets a little complicated if you get into a roll call vote. You've got to know that. So I'm going to give them a little time to get that done. And while we're doing that, I saw Senator Hall come in. I want to give him a turn to come up here and make a presentation to the committee. And Representative Bell, after Senator Hall speaks, if you'd like to speak, I'd like to give you a few minutes too. Give these folks over here time to get their job done. Not rush into this kind of stuff. But it's very important we look at it. If we don't, then it could make a big difference.
Well, Jimmy, thank you so much. I won't take much of your time here because I know you got a lot to do. I just want to first say thank you. I am humbled. I'm blessed to have the honor to be able to serve you. I said what I was going to do, and
Senator Bob Hall, the state of Texas.
The promise I made before I went to Austin is I go to God every day on my knees and ask for His wisdom, His courage, and His strength. And believe me, that's the only thing that has got me through that place down there. So, and it's not getting any better. If you haven't been reading the newspapers and watching TV lately, our country, our state, we are in trouble. We're in trouble like we have never, ever been before. We've got spiritual warfare out there that is going going to eat us alive if we don't stand up to it and get it straightened out. We've got financial problems with the state. I don't even talk about the federal issue anymore. It's beyond comprehension, but we've got challenges out there. You're going to have challenges here this next year with budgets, and we've got a society that needs to be healed. We need healing out there. And there's only one path through that, and that's with our Lord Jesus Christ in charge of what we're doing. It will not happen if we let the Democrats in the door. We cannot let them. You are seeing, what you're seeing out there is a reflection of who they are and what they want to do. We have got to get this election taken care of resoundingly, so that people don't feel like, well, we just barely won, so we got to be careful of what we vote for. That's what we had to put up with the last session, was barely winning in places and people being scared, because you got a lot of politicians down there in Austin and Washington who vote based on what they think they're going to get votes and how they do it. And so if you want to send a message on what you want, you got to get out there and get a resounding victory for us, a huge margin. And there is one way to do that. There is a pathway, and that is we adopt a democratic practice, but in a different way. Everybody here make a pledge that you will vote 10 times in November. Now, I say that and you laugh, but I am dead serious. Not the way they do it, but stuffing the ballot box. But you make a commitment that your children and your grandchildren, your family, this country and this state is worth getting out of your easy chair, giving up some time, and going out and making a commitment to get at least 10 other people who will vote like you. If they're not going to vote like you, don't talk to them. To show up and vote. And if we do that, we will win. We can win, but the turnout is always pathetically small. We need to get 100% turnout. But the pathway is for you to commit, when you leave here today, that you will do whatever it takes to make sure we get at least 10 people to vote like you and convince them to do the same thing. And it's not for us that we're doing that. We're doing this to preserve our state and our country. And that is, and it's painful for me to stand up here and talk about this, but what I see is if we don't do this, if we continue with the same apathy and let somebody else do it, or say, well, that's politics, I don't want to have anything to do with it, I can't mix talking religion in politics, folks, that's got to be over. Our religion and politics, our founding fathers intended for them to be intricately laced together, because our country, our form of government only works for the righteous people. It doesn't work any other way. So, I thank you for being here. At least you care enough to have shown up today. Think of all the thousands of people out there that are sitting home with basically nothing to do except to watch what the black riots did last night. But so thank you for being here, and make that commitment. 10 people. God bless you. God bless Texas.
Good. Keith Bell speaking right now. I'm about to speak.
You know, it is an honor for me to be here in front of y'all today. I've served a little over 18 months as your state representative, and Senator Hall is exactly correct. These are just unprecedented times. Certainly, for me as a state rep, I saw an open speaker's seat to that individual. Dennis Lyman was elected our speaker. You don't motion down. And then you saw what occurred this summer. And so there'll be another speaker's race. Two within 2 sessions. We are in a financial calamity with oil and gas revenues, with sales tax, with this pandemic. And we're just opposed as we see phase 3 that started this last week, that we can get our state back on track and be able to get our economy back to going. I put this comment together, and I appreciate you, Jimmy, for giving me this opportunity. I'm a lot older than most of the state reps that my colleagues. There's a handful of us that's the silver caucus with this white hair. But, I'll be 58 here in a few weeks. And so I was thinking about this in the hopes that I'd get this chance. So as I look upon our country, our state, our county, and globally our world, I stand thankful for the rights we have as Americans that we all hold so dear. If you saw my Facebook just Friday, the Bill of Rights was pinned and put out just this week. For the privilege I have in serving you, my constituents, in the Texas House, I consider myself blessed. I spent over 20 years as a public servant here locally as a school board member. Been a CEO for 38 years. I feel like I brought some skill sets to the Texas House that there are not a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, that are public servants, and that have silver hair. In trying and challenging times that we see today, I have clung to my faith more so than at any time probably in my life. Senator Hall is exactly correct. My dad will be 83 years old September the 4th, and this is what he told me when I told him I was going to run. He said, son, you're not going to go change Austin. Promise me that you won't let Austin change you. And that's hard. I ask these people to hold me accountable, my personal friends all the time, to do that. And Bob is correct. And this is, the senator is spot on. It's one of the hardest tours of duties I have ever done in my entire life. As our country seems as divided as I've ever seen it, I proud to stand for unity, peace, and opportunity for each individual person to live a blessed life, one of freedom, one of the liberties. These divisions, though, are a matter of the heart. You look at all the issues that we face today, they are all a matter of the heart and a fallen man. As I look to Scripture, I read where the Apostle Paul, in his letter to the church of Ephesus, reminds us that now in Christ Jesus, we once were far off and have been brought near by the blood of Christ. For he himself is our peace, who has made us both one and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility. Do we not need that more than at any other time? Certainly in my lifetime. I strive to make every decision day by day based on the truth of the inerrant Word of God and the freedom of Scripture, and stand firm on the promises of God awarded me through my personal relationship with Him. I invite each of you to find like-mindedness in these truths and stand with me to ensure that our families and our neighbors, our friends, and each stranger we encounter, even if they have a different ideology sometimes than us, that they be treated in fairness and truth and love, just as our Savior has called us to do. Let us be reconciled together in this effort. We will find ourselves in a better place and a better country for my kids and my grandkids. Thank you for your time today.
Had two more folks step in. Donnie Weisenbacher, come here a few minutes. And Bill Wagon's also here. So I'm going to give you gentlemen an opportunity to speak. Still getting us counted up. I don't want to Peggy is correct on the numbers, so. Anyhow, Donnie? Donnie, he's the county sheriff of Hopkins County, and
For the last 100 years, by the way.
I beg your pardon?
For the last 100 years.
Don't make it that
Been there a long time. But anyhow, most of you know that Jason Ross is our current SRHC rep. But Jason is competing for the 4th Congressional District and can't be here today, but he's going to be giving up the SRHC job. And many of you met Stephen Stanley, and this is Tommy Weissenbacher. He's the other gentleman that's competing for that SRHC spot. And I can't, I know I've known Billy for a long time, and I can't say one bad thing about either one of those gentlemen. You got really two good quality people to compete for this. In politics, it's kind of unusual. You can find something you say, but these guys are both good guys. And I look forward to being with them at the state convention. This is another gentleman that you're going to be required to vote for at the state convention. That's just one of the processes that we'll do. But anyhow, we'll give him just a minute to speak. Donnie?
It's good to be here with you this morning. Thank you for giving me time to speak with you. Again, I'm Don Weissenbacher, and I'm running for the state committeeman for Senate District 2. And I'm here to ask you for your vote. But before you vote, already I vote. I'll tell you a little about myself. I know a lot of you because, like I said, I'm an ancient. I've been coming to the events for a while. But I started out, I guess, on the day of my birth, which was a number of years ago. I was a Republican. Born into a Republican family in a very yellow dog Democrat county, Hopkins County. I would like to take credit for Eisenhower being the first president Republican to carry Hopkins County, because at the big old age of 4, I was walking around telling everyone I voted for Ike. Who did you vote for? And so that was my first campaign experience. Then I worked with in the Dick Dixon. When he was running, I worked the phone banks. And then later on, when I moved back to East Texas, I was involved in the party. I have stuffed envelopes, I've made phone calls, I've block walked, I've done just about everything on the grassroots level. I believe in leading by example. You don't ask people to do something if you're not willing to do it yourself. And so I also was vice chair, and then I became chairman in 2009. At that time, we had one elected Republican, and my goal was to make it a totally red county. 2018, we finally achieved that. Matter of fact, we achieved it in such a fashion that there wasn't even any Democrats on the ballot in the fall. But to do that, it took a lot of work, and I had a lot of good volunteers, but we had to gin up enthusiasm in the county. So we had our President's Day forum with a lot of you good too. And the first one that we had when I was chairman in 2010, we had about 200 people, and we were just thrilled. I said, we need more. This year, we had nearly 400 people, sold over 400 tickets, and had nearly 400 people. And we did, this didn't happen by happenstance, it happened by work, not just by me, but by the volunteers that I've been fortunate enough to have in Hopkins County. And what I want to do is I want to go, because with my experience in the grassroots level, I know how important, just like Jimmy does, he knows how important it is what the SREC does, what the rules that they vote on, the things that come up in between the conventions, and he knows how important it is and how it affects us on the grassroots level. I want to go down there and make a difference. I want to take my work ethics and my experience and put them to work for Senate District 2. And if I go down there, I promise you, I will listen to you. We may not always agree, but I will listen to you. And it's like Reagan said, if you agree with me 80% of the time, I consider you a friend. And I don't see an enemy in the room. And again, I want to go down there and work hard and pray and take my experience as a Republican worker to the state committee. Again, I'm Don Weisenbaker. I'm running for Senate District 2 State Committeeman, and I'm asking you for vote, and thank you for having me.
Come down, please.
Yes, sir.
Bill is, I can't, forgive me for this, I can't remember what policing is on Fifth Court of Appeals. Which one? Eight, place eight. And you're running for the, anyhow, Bill's been on there, what?
White Hill for Court of Appeals.
Thank you. Howdy, y'all. My name is Bill Whitehill, and it's my honor and pleasure to serve you as a justice on the Texas 5th District Court of Appeals. How many people have heard of the 5th Circuit in New Orleans? That's not us. Okay? But we're a similar type of court, perform similar types of function in the state court system. I'll tell you this, but today, in this country, in this state, and in our communities, liberty, freedom, and the rule of law are under attack. Right? Our court, our job, my job, is to protect and preserve the rule of law. Because if we don't have the rule of law, we don't have freedom, and we don't have liberty. Okay? I believe in the Constitution that was written in 1787, that it needs to be enforced the way it was written in 1787. I believe it's the legislature's job. The legislature's job to write the statutes that we live by. And it's our job on the Court of Appeals to enforce those statutes the way the legislature wrote them, whether we agree with them or not. That's what the rule of law is all about. On our court, when parties have a dispute, they don't like the result that happens in the trial court, they get to come to us and ask us to review the case and decide if an error of law was made big enough that it requires a different result. Okay? And when we decide those cases, it's our job to write an opinion that says what we did and why we did it. And when we write those opinions, that becomes the binding precedent that every court, every lawyer, every person in our 6-county area has to abide by. Okay? So, it's when every case we decide has at least one statute in it, and it's our job to decide what the 181 members of the legislature that participated in creating that statute meant. And when we write an opinion, we have to say what those 181 people meant. And it's what we say about that statute that counts. Okay? So that's what the rule of law is all about, and that's our job. I'm up for re-election in November. I'll be on the ballot. I have a Democrat opponent. I have 2 other colleagues on the court that are up for re-election as well, David Evans and David Bridges. 2 years ago, 8 Republican members of our court lost those elections. We lost the majority on the court. And I got to tell you, it's a very different court today than it was 2 years ago. We need your help to make sure that we retain our positions on this court so that we can protect, preserve, and defend the rule of law in our community.
Amen.
So how are we going to do that? Our court covers 6 counties: Dallas, Hall, Grayson, Rockwell, Kaufman, and Hunt counties. God bless Kaufman County. We need you in this race. Dallas is Dallas, we know all about that. So we have to have the other 5 candidates to help us out. Kaufman County is very solid. Everybody here, I am confident, will vote for me and will vote for David and David. That's not enough. We need each of you to bring at least 10 people to the polls and vote down ballot. We don't have straight ticket voting anymore. But everybody's going to see our names on the ballot. That's the way the system works now. And they need to recognize our name and have confidence in our name so that they will actually vote for it and do that. So how are we going to do that? We're counting on you all. We need your email list. We need your social media. We need, when you're walking in neighborhoods, let me know, please. I'll be happy to help you do that. Yard signs. We have yard art, beautiful yard art here, right? It does make a difference. I've got some in the back. When you leave today, please take some. We can put them out after Labor Day, not now. I'll link some of these push cards with you. Hand them out to friends, neighbors that you happen to see. So that when people go down the ballot and they see our names, they'll recognize them. WhiteHouse4Justice.com. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Can I say something real quick? Can I interrupt? There's probably people here, I'm sure everybody here knows people in Dallas too. So, you know, we can turn around some of those Dallas folks.
Okay, I need to get back to the convention. We've got a count now on voting stream. We currently have present 18 delegations. Delegations are identified approximately that you have. The voting strength of all those delegations is 703. And the number of delegates, people attending this convention, are 65. So it's a good turnout. We don't have any alternate delegates. Now I want to call the temporary credentials committee chairman to make a presentation to the delegation for all the delegates.
Chairman, the temporary credentials committee met to hear an all contest regarding the delegates and alternates. We did have 3 contests that weren't really against delegates. They were dealing with issues that people were not on the list. So I will go over some of these. The contests were heard by the committee. We met on May the 24th. We met at 102 West Road, and all the duties and responsibilities were read to the committee members. And those on my committee are Abel Powell, Judy Shane, Rick Jackson, and Rick Panetta, and myself. And I want to thank them for their service. We had 3 county convention delegate contests. Those involved Jody Deller, Kat Fox, and Valerie Villarreal. They were contested on the grounds that the permanent precinct chairman at their local precinct failed to perform and meet the requirements of the position to which he had been elected, including but not limited to Rule 22A3, which states the list of delegates and alternates elected to the county or Senate district convention with resident addresses in towns. End of quote. That list was to be submitted as part of the packet that is required of the presiding precinct or permanent precinct chairman of the convention to submit to the county. That list was to be included along with the other required materials and records from the precinct convention, and it was not included with the precinct convention 16 package. Regarding the 3, Jody Deller, it's kind of a moot point, but she's not here today. But she had emailed Chairman Weaver with the request to be listed as a delegate to the county convention way back on March 14th. That was prior to the convention. She was serving as an election judge at a polling location at a different precinct and was able to attend her convention. That request was included, as it normally is, in a packet to the precinct chairman conducting the convention at that local precinct, so their names can be added to the roster of delegates to be included for the county convention. No list of delegates was received from the permanent chairman of her precinct convention. The committee received subsequent requests from Ms. Beller asking to be included as a delegate because it was through no fault of her own that her name was not limited or not submitted in the appropriate form to be a delegate. This committee, the Credentials Committee, does not have the authority to add anyone's name to the delegate list. That has to take place at the precinct convention. They either have to qualify, they either have to have voted in the primary, been at the convention, or taken an oath of allegiance to the party, and that oath has to be taken at the precinct convention if they did not vote in the primary. That's the only allowance that the Credentials Committee has to verify and qualify the delegates to the convention. However, the committee can make recommendations to the body to be voted on, and that recommendation was that Ms. Beller be allowed to be seated as a delegate to the county convention. However, since she's not here, there's no point in asking the chairman to call a vote on that. The second contest was Kat Fox. Ms. Fox attended her Precinct 16 convention. She was there. Ms. Fox's name was not submitted by the permanent convention chairman to be seated as a delegate to represent her district's Precinct 16. The required list of delegates was not submitted by the permanent convention chairman, therefore her name was not presented to serve as a delegate to the county convention. It was through no fault of her own that she was not a delegate, or her name was not on the roster. It was not submitted to the county convention package, which was returned to the party. It's the committee's, Credentials Committee recommendation that the body of delegates vote to seat Kat Fox as a delegate to the county convention. I will turn it back over to the chairman for that to take place, and then we will continue with the next item on the list.
Okay, the question is to have the delegation vote to allow Kat Fox to be seated as a delegate to the county convention. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? No. Motion carries. The ayes have it.
The second one was Valerie Del Rio. She's also in the same precinct, Precinct 16. She also attended her precinct convention, and she was the temporary precinct chairman. However, she was not elected as a permanent precinct convention chairman, and likewise, her name was not submitted by the permanent precinct committee convention chairman to serve as the delegate to this county convention. Ms. Del Rio also submitted a request to the committee to be allowed to be seated as a delegate because it was through no fault of her own. It's the Credentials Committee recommendation that she be seated as a delegate.
The motion is to allow Valerie Del Rio to be a delegate to the county convention. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Motion carries.
These were the only three contests that were brought before this committee. There were others whose names appeared on the roster to be delegates. However, they didn't meet the requirements to be seated as delegates. Some did not vote in the primary. Some who did not vote did not submit the required affiliation with the Republican Party at that convention, so they were not considered. The committee then adjourned. There was one member of our committee who was unable to attend in our meeting, and on June 5th, that person was brought up to date by telephone conversation, and was in concurrence with the rest of the committee that the foregoing what I just put out before the provided. And that concludes our contest that we had. And that concludes the committee's report. I see some motions appear, so I will turn it back over to the chairman.
Recognize the delegate.
Lori Cook, Box 24. I would like to make a motion that David Morgan be added to the county convention. In fact, my own fault, I thought he was in Box 4. He thought he was in Box 4, and apparently he's actually in Box 3. But, and I think the other gal that was in Box 4 is not in attendance. But David Morgan is here today and would like to be seated, and so I'm requesting that the body would seat him as a delegate for in Box 3.
This is Bill Baker from Box 19, I'd second that motion.
Okay, that doesn't require a second, but the question is to allow David Morgan, as a correction on his box location, be seated as a delegate for Box 3.
That is correct, because he is actually in Box 3. And I would like to add, David Morgan has been involved with the Republican Party for a number of years. He did move from a location in recent years. So, at any rate, he has a lot to add to this convention by including him.
Okay, the motion is to seat David Morgan as a delegate for Box 3. The reason was stated, it was just a foul up in the paperwork for the process. All in favor of seating David Morgan? Aye. Any noes? Motion carries. David, you seated as delegate. Yes, ma'am.
I have another motion. Lori Cook, Box 24. I also wanted to, let's see, Jason Kopp was supposed to be put on the roster in Box 7, and apparently I was told that the person had forgot to add him, and so Jason is requested to be added as a delegate for the county convention in Box 7.
He's also a great cop.
The motion is to vote for Jason Kopp to be a delegate for Box number 7, another clerical error, and all in favor of seating Jason Kopp? Aye. Any noes? Jason, seated as a delegate. I'm going to turn it back over to the
Representative Bell had his hand up. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just a point of order, a question, Mr. Chair, of the committee. We just added 2 more delegates to the county convention, that one of which was not present. I just wanted to ask the question, why is it a viewpoint to not vote on Ms. Beller when she voted, filled out the appropriate paperwork to be turned in from the precinct convention chair? He failed not to do that. It sounded like the credentials committee had done their work and she had followed the necessary protocol. If this other gentleman does not have to be in attendance, why do I just need to make a motion to add Ms. Beller as a delegate in her precinct in Maybank?
That's
I think she's
relevant question. However,
she has to be present in this convention. I think we would have all voted for her had she been here.
Is that other gentleman you just added, is he?
Yes, they're both.
Both of them?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
that's not going to preclude Ms. Beller from being a delegate to the state convention.
Okay.
She's already, correct me if I'm wrong, and make a second on this one.
Being a delegate to the county or Senate District Convention is determined at the precinct convention level. It has to do only with the seating to be a delegate at this county convention. It has nothing to do with being a delegate to a state or national convention.
And then my question would be, is she on the list yet at this point in time to be a delegate at the state?
Okay, I can't as a chairman answer that, but I'll direct that to the nominations committee chairman. Ms. Cook, can you stand up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am the chairman for the nominations committee for the state.
Yes,
We discussed her, but we have not received any indication at this point that she is interested in going to stay. And so we have been asking anyone who's come in this morning because there's still some opportunities. So if somebody hears from her and says she wants to go to stay between now and the time we make our official report, then we can potentially get around it.
right, and my point is that she's been a tireless worker. She's been a past chairman of this party. And of all the people that are here today, she's worked harder for me than anyone else. And that's the reason I just brought that up. And we don't know what may or may not be the conflict of why she wasn't here today. So I just wanted to make sure she had an opportunity to go to the convention.
If you can reach out to
And I'll do that. Thank you.
And then let me know.
Mr. Parliamentarian, can I make a comment on that? Okay. Keith, you're correct. We took all that into consideration yesterday, and the nominations committee, I'm not speaking as a chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm only speaking as a comment to what your questions are.
Yes, sir.
That was all discussed yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Diligently.
Right.
And Ms. Leonard is well aware that Ms. Keller's services should be rewarded.
Yes, sir.
And that was a point that was made, and that does not stop her from being a city delegate. And we have her on the list, I think, at item 15.
We had her as a temporary potential for around 15 to 20, but if we can't get any contact from her between now and the next hour,
Okay.
she won't make the list.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry to interrupt.
I'll give it, Chuck.
Had Ms. Deller been here, I certainly would have, the committee's recommendation was that she be included as a delegate. However, she was not here to be included, so it was a good point to include her as a delegate to the county convention. That was the only reason she wasn't voted on to be a delegate to this convention, because of her non-presence.
Thank you, Mr. Don, for your qualified. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to the convention chairman to make a presentation to give a vote on the entire body of the delegation. Mr. Chairman.
Like a little monkey here with your papers. Those were the only three items that we had, and so, Mr. Chairman, the Temporary Credentials Committee finds that the following delegates, the ones that were listed earlier, that were elected by the respective precinct conventions, and those that were affirmed today by the convention body, we recommend that those delegates be seated at this convention. Direction of this committee, I move adoption of the Temporary Credentials Committee reports.
Okay, the question on the floor is to accept the credentials committee report and see all the delegates that were presented. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Motion carries.
Three. Maybe over there already.
Yeah, this is 17, so it's going to be with this in on that.
Okay, now that changes the totals of the delegates, it does not change the total This time I'd like to ask the Rules Committee Chairman to address the convention. Temporary Rules Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Baker, and I was appointed by County Chairman, Mr. Weaver, to serve as Rules Committee Chairman. And on my committee, Mr. Tom Propp, who's not here today, Mr. Charlie Green, Mr. Ronnie Oakfield, and Ms. Vicki Davis. We met via Zoom, which the party allowed us to do because of COVID. And we met on May the 21st, the Kaufman County Republican Party Convention Temporary Rules Committee met on Thursday, May the 21st. Meeting was called to order by Rules Committee Chairman Bill Baker at 6:38 p.m. Members present were myself, Charlie Green, Vicki Davis, and Tom Brock. Committee Chairman Baker asked Mr. Green to serve as the secretary for the meeting. He agreed to do that. We addressed one specific rule of in the rules of the Republican Party, that being Rule 17, which covers debate. Our recommendation was that 17 covers the main motion, which under the present rules says no delegate shall speak more than 5 minutes on a main motion without a general consent of the convention, nor shall a delegate speak more than once on the same motion without general consent. Our recommendation was that we change the time limit for a delegate to speak from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. B states that amendments and secretary motions, no delegate shall speak more than 3 minutes on any amendment or debatable motion subsequently made while the main motion is pending without the general consent of the convention, nor shall the delegate speak more than once at the same motion without general consent. Our committee amended that to say that change the time limit for a delegate to speak from 3 minutes to 1 minute. C, committee reports. The delegate making the committee report and the delegate making the minority report of any committee may speak on such report for up to 10 minutes and may then answer legitimate questions asked by any delegate relating to such report. The committee recommended that change the time limit for a delegate making the report to speak from up to 10 minutes to change that to 5 minutes. D, limiting debate. Any convention majority vote may limit or extend equally the time and the number of speakers on each side. The committee recommendation was that any convention majority vote may limit equally the time, the number of speakers for each side. Of a debatable motion, we propose a time limit of 3 minutes for each speaker and to limit the number of speakers to 3, 4, and for 3 against each debatable motion. Mr. Chairman, that is a recommendation of the Rules Committee that they be adopted here at the state convention, at the county convention. Thank you.
The question on the floor.
He liked that mic.
The motion is to accept the Rules Committee reports. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Motion carries. Don't get too far.
I'm not.
The next committee report will be from the Permanent Organization Committee. This is the only permanent committee that we have until we reach the other side of the page. Mr. Baker is also the committee chairman of the organization committee.
I don't know what I did to get to, but I did.
You're done after this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for appointing me as the chairman of the Permanent Organization Committee. Our committee was made up of Mr. David Hines, Mr. Ken Shane, Ms. Barbara McKee, and Mr. Keith Vanderveer. We also met via Zoom, and we met on Tuesday, May 26th, 7:06 p.m. I appointed Mr. Ken Shane to serve as secretary. After deliberation, the committee proposes the following names, and we'll do these separately because we'll have to vote on them separately. We nominate Mr. Jimmy Weaver as the permanent chairman of this convention.
The motion is to vote Jimmy Weaver as permanent chairman of the committee. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the committee nominates Mrs. Valerie Villarreal as the permanent secretary.
The motion, the question on the floor is to appoint Valerie Villarreal as the permanent secretary. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Motion
Valerie's
carries.
sitting over there in a green shirt.
Mr. Chairman, the committee nominates Mr. Jason Johnson to serve as the permanent sergeant at arms.
Motion on the floor is to elect Mr. Jason Johnson as the permanent sergeant at arms. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Motion carries.
That concludes our report. Thank you, sir.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have another recess. I got one candidate back there for the 422nd District Court position, Mr. Chad Johnson. Pardon?
Sheldon Gibbs is the chairman of the committee. She asked me to speak.
Okay, and Mr. Ken Luger is going to speak for Sheldon Gibbs as well. He was invited to this today, but I guess he's got a family emergency that he had to attend the funeral. And I think that Ms. Fox wants to say something to Tony and Michelle. Give all these folks an opportunity to make a presentation. Chad, would you like to say that first?
Chad Johnson's running for 422nd District Court in opposition of Sheldon Gibbs. Runoff elections coming up.
My name is Chad Johnson. I am a husband, father, a Christian, and a conservative. And I've been living in Kaufman County now for about, I guess it's close to 15 years. I'm a member of First Baptist Church here in Florida. I'm also a trustee of the church and a deacon, and I currently serve as the vice president of the school board here in Florida. A little bit about my background. I grew up in Paris, Texas. I'm the son of 2 school teachers, and I went to school in Oklahoma at Oklahoma Baptist University, and then worked with juvenile delinquents for about 3 years after graduating before going to law school. I graduated law school from SMU in 1999. And then began practicing civil trial law in 1999. I've been with the same firm now for a little over 20 years. Doing trial work. I've done a little bit of criminal here and there. I've touched on some peripheral family matters, divorce, clients going through divorces, and asset fights, those sort of things. My background is primarily a civil litigation background. I represent individuals, homeowners, businesses, small businesses, big businesses. You know, it runs the gamut. I'm all over the state in various courts practicing. Pretty much any county around this area that you can think of, I've had cases in. Also in federal court some. You know, I got into this race. I felt like this was something that you get called to do. You don't get recruited to do. The judge has a very real and immediate impact on the lives of the people that come before the court. Whether that's in a criminal case or a civil case or a family case, the rulings a judge makes matter. A judge has an obligation to follow the law, and a judge has an obligation to make rulings. I can say as a practicing attorney, There's nothing more infuriating than spending all your time and all your energy getting ready to present something to the court and then having the court say, I'll let you know. When, who knows? And that's frustrating, it should be as a taxpayer, because that just clogs up our courts. It makes everything takes longer, makes everything more expensive. Our courts here in Kaufman County, we have 4. They all hear what we call courts of general jurisdiction, so they hear criminal and civil and family cases. Judge Chitty, who is retiring, is the only judge that we really have that has much background in civil law. Our other 3 judges are all former district attorneys, former police officers, prior to have criminal experience. And I'm the only one in the race that has civil experience. Mr. Gibbs is the DA, and that's what he's done, and that's great. But he has no civil experience, civil litigation experience. And what does that mean for you? A lot of people say, well, what does that mean, civil trial? What are you talking about? I say, well, most of the folks in this room, I bet if I asked you, do you think the sheriff's going to come arrest you tonight and you're going to be in front of the court on a criminal case, I suspect most folks would not raise their hand. But every one of us in here could get in a car accident. We could have a business dispute with a partner. We could have someone suing the business that we own, or a small family farm, or who knows what. And those are the kind of things that we fall into the civil litigation category. Those are the things that affect most of the citizens in Kaufman County directly. And, I think if it's me and I'm going to go before the court, I'd like to know that at least one of our judges has some background in that area to recognize when a lawsuit is frivolous. Because a frivolous lawsuit can be devastating to a family or to a small business. So it's crucial that we have some experience at the courthouse in civil matters. I didn't really have any prepared today. That's a little bit about my background. I would certainly appreciate everyone's support. As Jimmy mentioned at the beginning, the runoff election, early voting starts June 29th and it goes to the 10th. Be advised, it is not going forward on July 3rd and 4th, however, because of the holiday. The county recognizes the holiday on that Friday, I'm correct on that one. So that Friday and Saturday will not be early voting. And then the runoff election is July 14th. I'll be in the building, in and out some today, so if anybody has any questions or corrections, want to visit with me, I'm happy to answer any questions. I also left some cards out on the table in the front for anybody to pick up on the way out. Thank you.
The other candidate in the 422nd District Court is Mr. Shelton Gibbs, and Mr. Ken Leonard would like to make a presentation now.
Thank you very much. Y'all, I feel like I'm 16 years old again. Gas is cheap. I need a haircut. I'm brown. I have known Sheldon Gibbs for the better part of his life. His father is a professor at Southwestern Christian College in Terrell. And I know by looking at me, you'd never know it, but I'm an alumni of Southwestern Christian College. And I sat at the feet of his father. I've been blessed to be able to hear Sheldon Gibbs III preach the gospel, and I'm telling you, he is a barn burner as a preacher. He will make a terrific district judge. It's ironic that now we're having a county convention in Kaufman County, and 100 years ago, we had very contested county conventions right here in Kaufman County when William Madison McDonald was alive, and the issue of contention was between the lily white Republicans and the black and tan faction of the Republican Party. Most of y'all have probably never even heard that, but William Madison McDonald was the son of slaves from Kaufman County and was elected to 12 national Republican conventions. I think we have a chance to grasp that heritage again and bring African Americans back into the party. We're blessed to have a district attorney who's an African American. We have a district clerk also. It would be terrific in my estimation, to have a district judge, someone that minority communities can say, we have one of us on that bench. And I think that would be important. Let me tell you about Sheldon Gibbs. Sheldon Gibbs is a candidate for the 422nd District Court, and he's the son of Kaufman County, raised with the same ideals of hard work and gritty perseverance that had come to define its residents. Sheldon is the product of the Terrell Independent School District and graduated as valedictorian of Southwestern Christian College. Afterwards, he studied at Abilene Christian University and graduated summa cum laude. That's where I met Lori Kaufman. Sheldon then attended Southern Methodist University at Dedman School of Law and interned for Belo Corporation, working in the legal department for various projects for the company's 20 subsidiary television and print companies. He came back home in June of 2007 to work as Kaufman County's district attorney. During the last 12 years, Sheldon has tried more than 65 jury cases to verdict, and he is currently the chief felony prosecutor for the 86th District Court. Prosecuting some of Kaufman County's most prolific criminal and high-profile cases, Sheldon has built a reputation as a seasoned leader at the courthouse who is well respected among his peers and colleagues. His record of accountability, transparency, and fairness are essential to presiding over the bench. Kaufman County raised Sheldon to appreciate life outside the courtroom so that he can more fairly rule in it. Sheldon is married to Tony Francine Gibbs, a lifelong public school educator, and together they parent 3 children who attend Crandall Independent School District and are active in local youth sports. Sheldon served as the founding member for the Crandall ISD Education Foundation from 2014 through 2016 and is a 5th generation Christian evangelist. Let me say that again, a 5th generation evangelist. He currently serves as the minister of the Lawrence and Martyr Street Church of Christ in Dallas, Texas. And I would encourage all to elect Sheldon Gibbs as district judge.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to nominate the Resolutions Committee Chairman and also Resolutions Committee Chairman. These 2 positions are the purpose of this convention. And this is the most basic level of grassroots involvement in the political process. The Resolutions Committee will take all of the comments, suggestions, rules, things that the general public want to try to get to the legislature to become law, platform, resolutions on the party platform. That's the responsibility of the Resolutions Committee. Now, once all of the resolutions are presented and approved, voted on, the next committee is the Nominations Committee. These are new people. This is the process that you're going to be taking part in at state convention. This is where all this is headed. So the Nominations Committee will nominate all of the folks that go down to actually vote on these platform resolutions. This time, I would like to nominate Mr. Ray Myers as the Resolutions Committee Chairman, and also the Permanent Nominations Committee Chair, Ms. Lori Leonard. Mr. Myers, come up with a presentation. The Resolutions Committee was composed of Mr. Myers, Dennis McKee, Aldia Davis, Darrell Griffith, Pat Robinson, Norman Seaton, Carrie Ann Bradford. These are the folks that was on that committee that heard these resolutions from the public and then, in their own judgment, passed these resolutions. Mr. Myers? Mr. Myers is permanent chairman of the resolutions committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it so much. I got to tell you guys, in working with the resolutions committee this time, I was astounded at the work that the people that do on this thing. I mean, my goodness, there's a young lady, Darla Riffett. I was really sat back and know that Darla had been actually probably worked on this committee for 5 or 10 times in that many different conditions. I didn't know that. But anyway, she is a fantastic person to work with. And Pat Robinson came over the day before that we had our permanent resolutions committee scheduled, and we worked together for about 3 hours putting all this stuff together. You wouldn't believe the things that you go through when you start working through the resolutions, that the grassroots actually, that you as grassroots people turn in. That's the most grassroots thing you can do, is to write a resolution, submit it to the resolutions committee at the precinct county level, and at the precinct convention level, and then move it on to the county convention, and then ultimately to the state convention. So we were called to order at 1:45 on May the 28th. We had an invocation and our pledges. We read some 16 resolutions. Out of the 16 resolutions, there were 5 or 6 that were redundant. So we moved those over to the left side and voted to table those until maybe next time or next year. But we already had the deal with that. We already had those resolutions in our platform, basically. So there's no need to go back and cover that ground again. So that's what happens on that. I've had experiences. I've been honored to be on the platform committee at the state level on 2 occasions. And I was astounded to see that one of the resolutions that we did in 2018, we got resolutions from all over the state of Texas about teachers being trained in crisis situation and for conceal and carry and things like that. And it was turned in all over the state, for the benefit of the teachers, the benefit of the safety of the students, and the safety of all the people that are involved in the school systems all over the state of Texas. And that resolution disappeared at the state level. When we got there, it was not there. And I wondered why. But maybe we'll bring that up. One thing I want to bring up before we get into the actual resolutions, I wish in the last 5 days, we've already had a committee meeting and everything, but I wish we'd have a resolution to come back and support our law enforcement all over the nation, and especially right here in Kaufman County. We ought to have a resolution at the state level, from here that goes to the state level, to support each and every police officer in this state. Because what's going on in this state, we need it. So, anyway, moving on to the resolutions committee recommends resolutions for consideration convention. It's state convention. The permanent resolutions committee chair will now present the committee's report. Permanent resolutions committee chair, Mr. Chairman, by the recommendation of this committee, I move that we waive the reading of each and every of the resolutions, since the members have a copy which they can refer to. Now, all of you don't have copies. No.
The motion is to waive the reading of each resolution and refer to the discussions.
Now, here's the way that works, Jimmy, in the past. In the resolutions, we've got 10 resolutions that we're going to present to you guys. And then we'll ask the convention vote.
each one?
I'll read each one.
Okay, the motion is to, okay, you make that as a motion, essentially, for a second.
Okay. Then we make a motion that we read each of the 10 resolutions. I can say list waivers, but then you wouldn't know what they do. You wouldn't know what you'd be voting on. So I make a motion that we read each and every one of the 10 resolutions. It won't take us long, and ask for the condition to vote on each one separately.
Okay, the motion to the floor is to read each individual resolution separately. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, I got a second. Any discussion? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Oh.
All in favor of reading resolutions to the floor? Aye. Any noes? Okay, the motion carries.
Hey, listen. Okay. Overtime pay. Overtime pay should not be taxed. Be it resolved that the employees who work more than 40 hours a week shall not have to pay federal taxes for overtime pay. Hard workers should be rewarded for supporting their families, not the government. Any questions?
Where in the world that come from?
Hey, you would not believe the resolutions that we got. Okay, go ahead, Chairman.
Be it resolved that employees who work more than 40 hours per week shall not have to pay federal taxes for overtime pay. Hard workers should be rewarded for supporting their families, not the government. And that's the motion on the floor. Need a second on that. Need a second on that. Anybody second that motion? I got no seconds. Take the motion.
Right. Okay, number 2 under education. And I've got the gentleman that wrote this one here, and if you were very fortunate to have him, if you have a question for him, I'm sure you'll be able to answer it. Resolution to significantly lower the cost of higher education. Be it resolved that we, in today's students, by significantly lowering the cost of higher education by realigning faculty-generated course-related inventory systems with learning outcomes into a single U.S. master inventory list of courses by subject matter list. The master list will enable students to earn a bachelor level degree from any U.S.-based academic institution without spending additional funds or repeating courses with similar learning outcomes while transferring among USA-based academic institutions. That's the first part. The master course inventory must be generated by a combined initiative of the various states that are charged with developing inventory systems. The USA Department of Education is to maintain and elevate the success of realigned master inventory list and completion certifications. The resulting master inventory list must enforce consistency standards of levels of learning, not the student's academic status, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Course transfer to standard such as 3 credit hours only, common students, contract hours 40 hours, and consistent faculty teaching credentials. Now, I understand reading that is a bunch, but I do have Norman Seaton here who wrote this, and he can explain this in terms that you will understand. Hold up. Come here, Norman.
Wait a minute. The motion is on the floor. It has to be seconded before anything is done.
First parliamentary, ask for motion on this, or second?
Now, he's made the motion, we need a second before we go any further.
I want to ask for a second on this motion. Got a second, Ms. Griffith?
Is there a motion to add
No.
Have an explanation. We'll get it on the floor. So I've got a second to get it on the floor. Okay, we got a second, so now we're gonna call the discussion. Correct? So,
And
Mr.
limited.
Chairman, here would like to have a comment about that. Is that correct, Charles?
Well, he'll be speaking for it, I'm assuming, and then somebody speak against it.
Okay, now,
But they only have 2 minutes.
saying is we can have somebody speak for it. We can also have people amount of time to speak against it. And
Use the mic, give me your voice.
2 minutes for each side, 3.
Gotta get things straight here.
Jimmy, use the mic, your voice is too low.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to keep this thing straight. But we've got a second on the floor for the motion as it was granted. Okay, now we're ready for discussion. 2 minutes for this gentleman for the motion, and 2 minutes for anyone who would like to speak against the motion. Mr. Stevens. Pardon?
Up to 3 times. You can have 3 for, 3 against.
Okay. Well, up to 3 each.
Hello, I'm Norman Seaton. I have a doctorate in education, and I've been teaching computer courses for Dallas County for 40 years. I have been studying this intensely for 6 years now, and I'll go in that direction. I know the 2 minutes are real short. Here's the whole great big problem. We, as community colleges, we have to follow a course inventory system. The universities don't, and they just do what they want to. As a result, in computer courses, I'm also on the task force one that guided the pathways, and that's how you transfer students. That's the reason I got so involved in this. And what happens is all the schools define their own courses. And they're all very similar, but they can't transfer. And therefore, the students are spending excess money, excess student loans and everything because they can't transfer the courses between the schools. Now, well, we passed the laws, but the law says you don't really have to take it, so they transfer everything as electives, which doesn't do any good because they don't count in the degree plan. So I'm saying, okay, let's consolidate this and everybody has to follow it. And once they follow it, now keep in mind, it's still faculty generated. It's not government controlled. It just is, that's it. Now, I wrote that for the Department of Education, realizing I should have said Texas, because Texas has to approve it before it can go for the Senate. Did I say enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're definitely done.
I did.
Do we have anybody that wants to speak against that motion? We call for a vote.
I'll wait for you. Somebody over here. Yes.
Somebody over here.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Reed.
Well, I commend the intention of it. I can imagine going to a state convention and having to debate that. I really like the intention, and I know what you mean. I think it's great for the students to go ahead and look at the university they want to go to and say, what will you count towards my bachelor's degree? But this right here, it is too detailed. If it could be stated simply, like your explanation, and suggest who it would go to, who would be taking care of making such a bureaucratic decision as this, I think that would be much better. But I will vote against it because of the complexity of it.
Okay, we have anyone else that wants to speak for the motion? You're actually speaking for or against the resolution that we're talking about.
The motion can be amended if.
Are you?
No, I'm just,
Are you suggesting that somebody might propose an amendment, a short explanation?
yes.
And I propose an amendment, that you just put it more simple and say, because I think we're totally converting the learning principles, not a lot of details.
You wouldn't believe how long the first one was.
If we can table it and let somebody go off and work on it and bring it back.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Bowser for the
We'll go with alternate.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Baker from Precinct 19. Wouldn't the state platform committee have the right to condense that when it gets to that point, Mr. Chairman?
When you know as well as I do, when it gets down there, that's where the sausage takes place.
Yes.
They are mixing it up like you will not believe. And I told Norm whenever he presented the things that it may turn out, we might not even recognize it by the time they get through it. But it is what it is. He's presented it as is, and if there's someone who wants to make an amendment here, that's fine. It's up to you.
Okay, I think we're back to tabling
Or
motion.
amending that motion, whichever. And if an amendment is made, then it's got to be seconded. And it has to be made. Before we have to vote on it. Thank you.
So you have,
Well, you make an amendment or?
we don't have an amendment on the floor.
We have a suggestion.
Suggestion to table, and you're still debating the original question. Yes.
So you can't make a second. You can't make a motion for when another motion's already on the floor. His was a motion, her amendment was a suggestion.
We've got a motion on the floor to discuss the resolution. Now, we have a for and against. Mr. Reed suggested that we make an amendment to the resolution to shorten the description of it, so it would be better, it would be more understandable. Okay, now, we're in discussion on the original resolution. Mr. Webb would like to stand and state the box.
11.
It does get confusing.
For a brief while, I did teach at Eastfield College. I taught air conditioning. And one thing that bothers me is universities that have billion-dollar endowments that figure out every reason they can to wheedle more money out of students when they have more money than David Crockett. There is no reason for them to do it. And streamlining it is a great idea. And I think you have put out the core of a resolution that is going to be reworked at the state level. I don't think we have to put out a perfect resolution. All we've got to do is send the resolution. I think there's enough to send to them where they can get it worked out there. And I think it's a great idea.
Okay, that was for the resolution comment. Do we have any other, wants to speak against the resolution? Okay, we're at the point of making a vote on the resolution, is that correct?
They want to table it or?
Okay, I'll call the vote on the resolution as read. I don't want to read it again. I think at this point, we can kind of tend to understand it more. So the vote is going to be to approve the resolution. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Okay, we got one no. Okay, the resolution is going to carry.
Thank you very much. That motion carries.
This is where it gets hard. When you step outside the resolution and start talking about amendments and so forth, this is where it really is complicated.
Oh, yeah. You don't.
Terry has to pick it up. Oh, he caught up there.
And another thing, whenever we receive resolutions at the precinct level, they come in all forms, in handwritten forms, and most of them don't put their names on them. And so, but that's what we call the grassroots level. And we have to accept every one of them and move through them as a team, okay? Resolution number 3, gun education and safety. Be it resolved that we encourage laws that allow the teaching of gun safety in public schools, that schools should present the Second Amendment and its meaning in a positive manner. Be it further resolved that teachers receive training in gun safety and take classes in active shooter crisis management, and those who qualify and complete the conceal and carry for the state of Texas be allowed to carry arms on campus in a voluntary basis. Do we have a motion to accept this resolution number 2?
Your committee's making a motion.
Sorry.
The motion is concerning gun safety. Can we get a second on that?
Second.
Got a second, okay. Any discussion on this motion? No surprise about that. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on the motion of gun safety. Concerning public education, is that correct? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wow.
Mr. Chairman.
Folks, this is the purpose of this convention. This is what it's all about.
Yep.
And all the hoopla, all the parliamentary stuff, I just try to keep us in order. But this is the purpose of having this gathering, is to get these things presented to the party platform. And then hopefully give an advance to the state legislature. This is what it's about.
Okay, this is
Please bear with us.
This is another long one, and our state representative, Keith Bell, is here, and he may want to discuss this with us. This falls under Government and Foreign Affairs, proposed amendment to the Republican Party of Texas Rule 41. Whereas the Texas Election Code, section number 71002, provides that the Republican Party of Texas state chair and vice chair may be elected to 4-year terms at the state convention held in gubernatorial election years. Whereas the current RPT rule, which is the Republican Party of Texas, only authorized 2-year terms as required elections for every state convention. Whereas the current practice places the Republican Party of Texas at a significant operational disadvantage by continually exposing the party to a precarious cycle of having a complete change in leadership, staff, and operations in the final months before the critical presidential elections. Whereas the Republican Party of Texas must recognize the importance of having steady and certain leadership, particularly during the presidential election cycle. Therefore, it be resolved that Rule 41 of the Republican Party of Texas rules should be amended as follows. And here's the big deal. Rule 41, the state party chairman and vice chairman, all biannual gubernatorial election year state conventions, each senatorial districts shall caucus and recommend a man and woman for state chair and vice chair. These recommendations shall be forwarded to the state nominations committee by the district's member to the committee, who shall support them on at least the first round of voting. The state nominations committee shall select one man or woman from the recommendations of the submitted to the convention as nominees for these positions. Nominations from the floor shall be allowed only for candidates recommended by at least 3 districts of petitions signed by the delegates equal to the number of the least 20% of the convention voting strength. No person is eligible to be elected chairman or vice chairman for more than 4 years, consecutive 2-year and 4-year terms at the same office. Be it further resolved that other rules changes shall be made to harmonize these rules with the foregoing amendment. Now, this is
Yeah, Darla? Yeah.
Let me put this on the floor as a motion.
Yes.
When we get into discussion, or second, we can get into discussion. Yeah, don't let me get off, okay? What I'm saying, I understand what we're about this.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the opinion process, meeting of opinions on it.
Right.
You set it aside, we'll set
As
it.
long as that what is.
Okay. Okay, the motion, or the question on the floor is in regards to, as read, amending the term of the state party chair. Is that correct? I need a second on this.
I second it, Bill Baker.
Bill Baker, March 19, seconds the motion. Let's call this a question. And we got a second. Do we have discussion? Ms. Rivet, box 11. You want to speak for it? Ms. Rivet.
Darla Riffit, box 11, and the only reason I'm not for or against, a little bit then, just for clarification, I submitted this exactly as it was submitted to us, and what happened, they highlighted the changes that they wanted to make on, y'all can't see this, but as you can see, they highlighted the changes that they wanted to make, and the only changes were that instead of having the chairman and vice chairman be in a replacement type situation, election situation every 2 years, where, because we do this on the governor, when the president is being elected, or when we have a presidential race, it's difficult having a change in chairs and chairman. So they wanted to change this so that instead of having not more than 4 consecutive 2-year terms in office, that they would have no more than 3 consecutive 4-year terms, and that those elections be held during the gubernatorial race years. It's just to change it so that we don't have a change up every 2 years. And so I'm sorry that's not real clear, but I just sent it as is.
Do you have any more comments on that resolution? Okay, we're gonna vote on this resolution, concerning rule number 41. No more comments, no more questions. Okay, the motion on the floor is to vote for an amendment to the term of the state party chair. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? No. What, 2 noes? 3. The ayes have it. Pause for just a minute. Back up just a little bit. Kind of got ahead of ourselves. I need to appoint the permanent nominations committee members. Kind of a little housekeeping here. And Ms. Lori Leonard will be permanent nominations committee chair. And got the list right here. And members of her committee, Robert Williams, Betty Fowler, Marty Reed, Lori Cook. I kind of got this in the order of what happens, but they condensed everything of all the members in one line. So, and I stated it earlier that Charlie Green is a Pickering parliamentarian, he's also a permanent parliamentarian. He's going to get caught up in that, so if you don't get out too far out of work.
delegate to the state convention. If you would get a form and give it to Gloria Cook or to me, because we still have a few spots, you know, to make sure that added for the permanent placement.
And I have,
This, what Ms. Woodard is talking about.
I have forms in my hand.
Lord Cook has got the forms. We provided these forms for people who could not be at the county convention, and that way we know who does, who do want to be at the state convention. And this will be one of the last things that we do in business. Anyway, if you want to be a state delegate, please get those forms and get them filled out. And one more important thing I need to make note of. I have to have a good cell phone. Once we get to the state convention, it's a big place. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening. There's a lot of votes that we may be called back to do. The only way I can communicate with everybody is through a text. So it's very important that we have a good cell phone number that I can text you. Otherwise, it gets very chaotic, a lot of things going on, and you will miss stuff. So let's get back on track to Resolutions Committee Chair. Mr. Chair.
Okay, resolution number 5, halfway through, almost. This is under state of Texas priorities. Be it resolved, during the legislative session, when the Republican Party has control of the House, the Speaker of the House shall be responsible for passing legislation designed around each of the top 10 platform planks submitted by the most recent Republican convention. Failure to bring all 10 bills to the floor vote may result in the Speaker of the House and all Republican House members who block or vote against such bills to be censured or expelled from the Republican Party. Be it resolved that during the legislative session when the Republican Party has control of the Senate, the Lieutenant Governor shall be responsible for passing legislation designed around each of the top priorities and platform planks submitted by the most recent Republican convention. Failure to bring all 10 such bills to the floor may result in Lieutenant Governor or the Republican senators who block the vote against such bills being censured or expelled from the Republican Party. Be it further resolved that the Governor recognize and enforce the Republican State of Texas Priorities Committee and shall fully support the top platform priorities set forth. And can I explain that just a little bit? Just one second.
You got that second first.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a second on the motion as read. Mr. Stan Capps, a second. Okay, any discussion on this resolution?
Can I just add a comment here?
Yes, you can.
As an elected official, you know, you've got, and I understand that it's the party, and I'm a part of the party. But so the party would assert its authority over the electorate that elected your representatives and senators and governors. I mean, I'm just asking.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to have to restate it because I did not hear exactly.
I said, so what you're asking is the party to have the power to then therefore usurp its authority over that of the electorate that elects their elected officials. I mean, if you're going to censor or throw someone out of the party, that's what you just said.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not. The resolution says that.
I understand that. You're putting it out there to vote on, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that if we don't vote for something that is a party platform, i.e., me and you've had this conversation, it is a party platform to legalize marijuana. I refuse to vote on that, and I was on the criminal jurisprudence. So if this was put in place
and I didn't vote to legalize marijuana, then I could be censored and then voted out of the Republican Party. I just want to make sure, Ray, me and you've had this conversation, maybe, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just telling you, that's what this allows to occur.
And
And if that's what everybody wants to do, that's no sweat.
But what I wanted to do whenever I came back and said,
I served y'all,
and
I just
asked-
want to make sure what, you know what you do.
yeah, okay. What I wanted to do whenever I asked Jimmy a while ago about this, and he said, and I said I'd get started from March, I wanted to explain where this came from. We elected the governor had recommended to have a platform priorities, not a platform, but a priorities committee for the state of Texas for legislative priorities. And we established, we had a committee for legislative priorities. We did that. We spent the money, the state of Texas, the Republican Party established a priorities committee. The priorities committee met in 2018 and established 10 priorities for the state of Texas. And then whenever they established the priorities, they sent them over to the legislature. And then the governor undercut every one of the priorities, cut every priorities that you, the people, and that we established in our committee for the state of Texas, cut every one of them out and reinstated his. That's where this is coming from. All of our priorities were cut. And the governor, he would develop his own priorities. That's top down. I thought we were bottom up. So that's where it all came from.
So are you speaking in favor?
I understand. I'm just painting it with an awful big brush.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
You ready?
Okay, we have any other debate on that?
Yeah, just on for us.
Yes, sir.
Dennis took the author.
Are you speaking for or against?
Speaking for it.
I submitted this. It made me sick to see our convention last time go through all the motions in terms of, coming up as a platform. And then having to decide on 10 to give to the legislature to govern. And then it was all just put in the trash there. It was thrown back in our face. What's the point in having a Republican Party that has no power over people that run as Republicans? They either are or they are not. We have a lot of Republicans in the legislature right now that ran as conservative Republicans. They didn't vote that way. They need to listen to the people instead of lobbyists. That's one of the biggest problems we have in Austin. If you look at the three parts of this resolution, it has the word may censure or may remove them from the people. They're not acting like Republicans. Why should we keep them in the party? It's as simple as that.
Any more debate on the,
I want to speak against it.
please rise.
Don't need to come up with it.
Sure.
Yes.
You speaking for or against?
Against. Yes.
April Pyle, precinct 24. I speak against it because it's time to deal with, we elect our officials. At the time to deal with grievances is not to censure or can't censure. At the time to deal with it is through the election box. If they're not doing what we elect them to do, we need to be verifying our people who we don't know that first. We need to know what they are and really get into that. And then, if they're not doing what we want to do, we get out and re-elect somebody else. And that's where it's done. Because you get out.
Gentleman back here, say.
Yes, Jeremy Gregory, precinct 25. I'd like to speak against this motion.
We need a form back and forth, right?
Yes, back and
We
forth.
already,
We just had a
Anybody else who wants to speak for the motion? Mr. Fowler?
That'll be 3, 4.
After this time, we have the young gentleman back here.
Dave Fowler, Precinct 17. We're not talking about kicking somebody out of the position they've been elected to. We're talking about kicking them out of the party. They can't run again if they're censured as a Republican. If they're not going to vote as a Republican, they can go run as an independent or a Democrat. We've got enough rhinos up there. Get rid of them.
Say your name and box, please.
Stuart McGregor, box 25.
Stuart McGregor?
Yes.
Box 25.
I worked at the legislature several years ago, and one of the things that we've set up in our system is that when bills are filed, they go through a certain process. They go through the committees, they go to the floor, they go through that entire process. And I think that this resolution supersedes that entire process because the legislature always is going to pass a list of rules every session, and when they pass those rules, that governs how they're going to do things the rest of the session. Passing a resolution like this is not going to help on any way, shape, or form with those rules. It's not germane to those types of rules whenever the party is interjecting on that type of process that was set up as a bipartisan process. So I'm against this motion.
Okay, I'm going to close the debate on that resolution and call for the vote. All in favor of passing resolution on, how would you describe that? I think we will cover legislative priorities set out by the party platform in respect to the governor's priorities. It's about the best way I can identify this.
This censorship of censorship of elections. That's what this is about. No, of elected. Yeah, it's not about the governor, it's about anybody that's elected as a Republican in the state of Texas. If I don't vote exactly the way you want me to, I can be censored and kicked out of the party. That's what this is about.
Yes,
Code Richard Box 17, I request a roll call vote on this motion.
Okay, that's correct. We're going to have a roll call vote on this. And, pardon?
I would not do a roll call vote as much as do a voice vote. I do a voice vote first. If you can't differentiate ayes versus nays, then I would go for a show of hands.
Okay, we're going to call for a voice vote. It's really close, and we'll ask for a motion to approve a roll call vote.
Correct. All right, show of hands. Roll call is, if you saw Charlie Green, you can, how do I vote? Show call.
I'm going to call for a roll call. I'm going to call for a voice vote right now. All in favor of passing this resolution, say aye. Aye. All in favor of not passing?
No.
Pretty close.
I'm going to say the noes carry the motion. The noes win.
Move on.
Pardon?
Move on.
Thank you very much. Next one. Number 6 is short and sweet. Stop human trafficking. Be it resolved that we pass legislation granting the Texas Attorney General full concurrent jurisdiction over multi-jurisdictional cases to be limited specifically to those cases involving human trafficking.
We need a second first.
Mr. Chairman, this is a point of order. I don't know that I understood whether that was a yes or no in the end when we voted on the last thing. Those people were out of grace.
No.
carried.
We need to keep it down. Thank you.
All right, so this motion is to.
Point of order, Bailey, precinct 12. If it's close in your opinion, shouldn't we have either show of hands? One or two. Because it's one person's personal opinion, whether it's close or not, and you're saying it's no.
There were several people that said that it was not close.
Mr. Chairman,
It's already been ruled on and we have moved on.
Move on.
It's
Move
not
on.
in that order.
Move on.
Yeah, that's correct, she's correct.
We're moving on to the human trafficking rule resolution. Can I get a second on that? Second, Mr. Jackson. Discussion on the human trafficking resolution. Any discussion? We'll call for a vote on the human trafficking resolution. Who's the second?
You need to repeat the resolution.
Pardon?
You need to repeat the resolution.
Okay, be it resolved that we pass legislation granting the Texas Attorney General full concurrent jurisdiction over multi-jurisdictional cases to be limited specifically to those cases involving human trafficking. Any questions? If there are more questions, we'll call for the vote on this resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, the next resolution is come to light in the last 10 days, and then a resolution was submitted. A resolution in opposition to contact tracing. Be it resolved that the 2018 Republican Party of Texas platform be amended with a new plank under the current category of Health and Human Services, which shall read contact tracing. We strongly oppose contact tracing as they suggested in the Governor Abbott's April 27th, 2020 report to the Open Texas Plan, and also strongly oppose the pending federal Trace Act. Contact tracing is not a core function of the public health. No government entity, nor the Texas National Guard, shall ever be employed to violate the natural rights of Texas citizens. Whereas every living or deceased Texan can now fall under the revised definition of probable case of COVID-19 issued by the Texas Department of State Health Services. This was under the Texas surveillance case definitions of 2019 for coronavirus disease, COVID-19. Whereas all possible cases are now being subject to being traced, contacted, or possible quarantine. Whereas Governor Abbott's report to Open Texas Plan provides a contact tracing workforce of 4,000 testing ability for upwards of 30,000 Texans per day. Whereas currently the only way to get rid of this virus, COVID-19, is with immunity, and whereas the only immune compromise shall be sheltered. Whereas 98% of those who contact this virus recover. And whereas inexpensive therapeutic drugs are available, the Americans who become ill with COVID-19, whereas the selling of the panic are the same ones selling the vaccine. That would be Bill Gates, Fauci, etc., and other New World Order globalists. All the financial interests promoting a vaccine and drugs that will buffer them. And whereas respiratory failure is a terrible way to die, such as death due to asthma, pneumonia, influenza, and more, it is and it's true that the virus is more dangerous to the elderly and the immune compromised. But everything is more dangerous to individuals. Whereas, House Bill number, get this, 6666, and the corresponding Senate Bill number S3624 titled the Trace Act, researching must be stopped and prevented from passage in Congress. Now be it resolved that the 2018 Republican Party of Texas platform be amended with a new plank under the current category of Health and Human Services, which shall read, contact tracing. We strongly oppose contact tracing as suggested in Governor Abbott's April 27, 2020 report. And we also strongly oppose the pending Federal Trace Act. Contact tracing is not a core function of public health, nor no government entity, nor the state of Texas National Guard shall be employed to violate the natural rights of Texans. Yeah. We oppose that.
Okay, this resolution is read, opposition to contact tracing. Any motion on the floor for this resolution?
Yeah, he's making a motion.
You make a motion?
Yes.
That's second. Second. Okay, any discussion on this resolution? Discussion. We'll call for a vote. All in favor of not allowing or opposition to contact tracing? Aye. All for it?
That was
Okay, I think the ayes have it. We will not have contact tracing. We'll get this thing straightened out. Pretty good on that.
Thank you for that. Oh man, you have no idea. Allow families to make mental and physical health decisions for themselves is number 8. Allow families to make mental and physical health decisions for themselves. The resolution for this. Be it resolved that the recently passed mental health legislation be amended to provide protections for parental and civil rights by informed parental consent and full Miranda warnings, which are needed to protect due process rights and prevent violations from the Fifth Amendment right against compelled self-incrimination. Be it further resolved, we increase the transparency and respect for parental rights and authority by closing loopholes as related to the Public School Health Advisory Council.
Families to make mental and physical health decisions for themselves. Can we get a second on that resolution? Any discussion?
What does it mean? If I'm mentally ill, I can determine.
It means the government can't make decisions for you. The family is making.
The government can't, in other words, the government can't come in and tell you you're going to make a decision for the family. Well, that's where it really is. That's where the land.
Anybody want to speak that wants to speak for that resolution? Anybody who wants to speak against it? Okay, we'll close discussion, call for a vote. All in favor of the motion to allow families to make decision for their own family mental health? Is that correct? All in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. All against it, say no. Motion carries.
Last one.
Amen.
And this is going to be a good one. Secure the southern border. Interior enforcement to end magnet effect. Everybody understand what magnet effect is?
No.
All the magnets that are in place right now to entice those individuals to come to this country is what that is. You know, education, free housing, blah, blah. How much do I need to say? Be it resolved that we close loopholes in temporary assistance for needy families, indigent health care, non-emergency, non-life-threatening care, and other social welfare programs that allow appropriate funds to go to non-citizens.
Need a second?
Yes.
The motion has been made to secure the southern border, interior enforcement, and end magnet effect. Can you get a second on that?
Second.
Get a second. Rick Jackson, Fox 13. Any discussion for it?
I have a question. Tony Dan, on the does this include sanctuary cities like Washington?
I know, yes. I agree.
There were several things in the resolution that was submitted that actually are already in the packet on our only. Added to one part that is not already in the
Sanctuary cities.
Okay, you're speaking for the resolution. You're speaking for the resolution. Is there anybody speaking for the resolution? Anybody speaking against the resolution? I'm going to call for a vote on the resolution. Secure the southern border, interior enforcement, magnet effect, immigration. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Motion carries.
That's it.
Good boy. Okay, we're going to recess for just a few minutes. Kind of get a breath, caught up a little bit here. But I've got another guest that came in, Carl West, who is here. He's better for the state chair's on. I want to recognize him real quick. Mr. West, would you come up, please?
If I could get an nomination to be members to break out for about 10 minutes.
That's good. Okay.
Alan West. There you go.
I won't take so much of your time. I know you guys been here slaving through those resolutions for Washington, D.C., not exactly the most fun thing. But first and foremost, thank you so very much for your prayers, for your well wishes. It was just 2 weeks ago today that I was in a motorcycle accident going 75 miles an hour coming back up I-35. And if you know anything about motorcycle accidents, no one survives at 75 miles per hour. I was hit from behind. But it's just a testimony to God's grace. And the fact that I can be a walking miracle standing here before you all today, you know, being a dumb old soldier, you know, I ran 3.5 miles this morning, so. Hoorah! But let me talk to you about where we are in Texas. And the important thing I want you all to think about today is what today is. 76 years ago,
young men. They boarded onto ships. They boarded onto amphibious assault craft. Young men that evening prior had jumped in behind enemy lines. They did all of that. The greatest military operation the world has ever known. The greatest amphibious assault operation the world had ever seen. For one word. That word was liberty. To liberate people from the incredible tyranny of National Socialism, which is what Nazi stands for. To liberate them from Italian fascism. And yet here we are today in the United States of America, in the state of Texas, and we're fighting against a progressive socialism. We're fighting against an organization called Antifa that says they're against fascism, but yet they're threatening our neighbors not too far away from us in South Lake, Texas, murdered South Lake, Texas now. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's ever been a time for us to honor the service and sacrifice and commitments of the greatest generation of which my father was a part of and fought in World War II. And think about it, he was a black man. He didn't care about the color of his skin. He cared about the character of his nation.
Amen.
He cared about that thing called liberty. And he cared about setting the conditions so his son could join the military and become an officer and continue on to fight for liberty and freedom. We've got to start that right here in Texas. If we don't push this back in Texas, we don't win anywhere else in the United States of America. And if we don't understand who we are as Republicans, we've got to stop the circular firing squad. We've got to understand who we are and what we stand for. Our principles and values. We must stand for those principles and values. We cannot win by being the lesser version of the other side. As a matter of fact, since we're in a church, I think it says in the Bible, either you're hot or you're cold. If you're lukewarm, you spew from my mouth. My mother taught me that a man must stand for something else or fall for anything. It's time for us to be stand-up people in the Republican Party of Texas. And the next time people come out and call you a racist, call you, you're part of systemic racism, remind them that the Republican Party of Texas was founded on July 4th of 1867 by 150 blacks. That's the content of the character of the Republican Party of Texas. Because at the same time, the other party was established in the Ku Klux Klan. The first domestic terrorist organization that our country has ever known. Now we have the second. Why do I want to be chairman? Because the fight for America is in Texas. And if we lose this fight in Texas, if we continue to allow this incredible thing that we see happening in Dallas County where I live with Clay Jenkins, or down in Harris County with Lena Hidalgo, in Austin, in Travis County, in San Antonio, in Bexar County, El Paso County, down in Laredo. If we continue to allow those voices to be dominant in Texas, then we will not be able to pass on that thing called liberty to our children and grandchildren here in the United States. I don't know why God allowed me to survive that accident. All I know is this: I will continue to serve God, country, and Texas. And I ask that you allow me to do that service for you as your chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. God bless you all. Thank you.
Nominations Committee is trying to, there are special
Hey, I've got some buried in the back.
All right, we're about to get back started. Again, it's the Kaufman County Republican Party Convention. Everyone who wasn't watching before, Alan West was speaking. So if you just rewind this live video a little bit, you'll get to see Alan West. He's currently running for the chair position for the state of Texas, the Republican Party.
Give everybody a second round of observations. Pretty serious value. Okay, everybody, we're down to the final step in the position process. That is introducing the nominations for being chairperson, chairwoman. And she's going to read off the names of the people that are nominated for the state convention. If anyone wants to go to the state convention, stand up and say your piece. And anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lloyd Leonard, committee chairperson for the nominations we have.
Thank you. I'm Laura Leonard. We have a delegation of 54 delegates and 54 alternates for this year's convention. Currently, we have 44 delegates on our list that have been voted on by the committee. It's my understanding there may be one or two forms being filled out at the last moment, and so we will address those separately. But first, we're going to go ahead and do these 44 that have already been done by the committee. Each delegate is given a number, and so I will be reading these in number based on number 1 through number 44 at this point in time. Delegate number 1, Jimmy Weaver. Delegate number 2, Jason Ross. Delegate number 3, Bill Baker. 4, Robert Williams. 5, Ray Myers. 6, April Pike. 7, Larry Kozalik. 8, David Morgan. 9, Charles Green. 10, Barbara Jo Green. 11, Marty Reed. 12, Valerie Reed. I'm sorry, I'll butcher the last name. 13, Rick Jackson. 14, Stan Kapp. 15, Sonia Myers. 16, Kathy Baker. 17, Marilyn Weaver. 18, Karen Williams. 19, Cherie Marino. 20, Ken Leonard. 21, Susie Den. 22, Albert Den. 23, Jose Rodriguez. 24, Sandra Rodriguez. 25, Norman Seaton. 26, Sharon Seaton. 27, Stuart McGregor. 29, Ann King. Those were the names that we had as of yesterday. These next ones came in this morning and are also being seated. If they come in earlier, they might have a higher delegate number, but that's why they are where they are right now. Number 30 is Keith Vanderveer. 31, Michael Seaman. 32, Barbara McKee. 33, Dennis McKee. 34, Monty Thornell. 35, Kenneth Daly. 36, Mila Reed. 37, Darla Reffitt. 38, Carrion Bradford. 39, Johnny Tarno. 40, Lori Quinn. 41, Jason Kopp. 42, Kenneth Shane. 43, Judy Shane. And 44, Lori Leonard. I make a motion that these 44 names be entered as state delegates. Do I do? Okay, we need to add 1 or 2 that come in. We do this and then add the next one. We have 1 and 2. Should we add those first? Point of order, I guess.
You can make it, we got the motion on the floor, that needs to be seconded first.
And then we can come back.
And then we'll come back and do an amendment and add those.
Okay. We'll come back and do an amendment to get the last 2. Okay, I have a motion. I have a second by Robert Williams. All those in favor of these 44 names?
Wait.
Open for discussion?
We we get out that discussion, or
Okay.
we go for an amendment.
Okay, are there any amendments on the floor of names that would like to be added? Ms. Lori Cook.
Okay, Claudia Davis apparently had submitted the form online earlier, and she got left off the list.
Okay.
And Kathy Ann Reed, who just gave me her application, is interested as well.
Okay, so Adia Davis, Kathy Ann Reed, they would be number 45 and 46, and Ms. Kat Fox would be 47. So I have an amendment to add to our original 44, Adia Davis, Kathy Reed, and Kat Fox. Do I have a second to that amendment?
Second, Bill Baker, 19.
Yes, okay.
Now we vote on the, accepting the amendment.
Do I have a vote to accept the amendment? I have a,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. All opposed? Good.
Now, motion.
Now, we have a motion on the floor for 44 plus 3 that were amended on for a total of 47 delegates to be state delegates in Houston on July 16, 17.
Vision is July 16, 17, and 18. We will need to arrive probably on the 15th, which is Wednesday, to make sure that you can properly check in. And we probably will leave early on Saturday.
You're all. Yeah, right.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
So which one is right one?
It is close. Yes, all nominations for delegates to the state convention are now closed. The list is complete.
At this moment, do we have any other business that needs to be attended to? Anyone have any business that needs to be brought up?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. When do the new precinct chairs that were duly elected in the Republican primary get take over their spot?
And I think the dates will be August 3rd. It's 20 days after the runoff election is completed.
Okay, just making sure.
And we'll convene on August 3rd and elect positions. And have anybody here from Commissioner Precinct Number 3?
Yeah. What do you mean?
That's right. But you won't be in the new precinct chair.
No.
The reason is, yes, Mr. Cook, you have a question?
It's unrelated, but go ahead, finish your sentence.
Yeah, we'll swear in all the new precinct chairs on August 3rd. And shortly after that, we have to convene another meeting in precinct commissioner number 3 we have to select a justice of the peace. This is way on the ballot for that position, so we'll talk about that on August 3rd. Carl, I think that pretty much covers everything. You might have a question about that.
Yeah, we're gonna get like an email or something like that.
Beg pardon?
We're gonna get an email or something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna post it on the party website as well.
Okay.
Now, one more thing on the state delegates. Said this before, we've got to have a good cell phone number that I can text to. Very, very important.
You're going to test that again.
It's very critical that we have that. When you get down there, and everybody's running around with a chicken with a head cut off, you'll understand why. Because literally, in between different meetings, we could be called back for another vote in another location. The only way I can get the message to you is to text me. Email won't get it at the state convention. It's just not fast enough. Not everybody's got a computer on the hip, and many times emails don't always go to your cell phone in time to be noted. Text messaging has always proven to be the best way to do it. So I gotta have a good cell phone. Yes.
Who, me? I just want to remind you that you wanted to make sure you tell everybody they need to register for the party.
Yes, on the party website, there was a heading on there that had the form to fill out for the state convention. That's going to be changed to another message. The state convention, you're required to register with the state party, and that has to be done through the internet. And we'll have that website posted with a link. You need to go on that party, or on that link, which will take you to the state party. And then you need to get registered. So you have to have a credit card. Was it $67?
$67.
Okay, I've already paid that, then I'm done, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what they'll do, once you pay that, in addition to what we're going to do, we're going to send all your names and email address and phone number and everything to the state party. And they'll have your packet ready for you when you show up at the convention. Otherwise, if you get down there and that is not all done, it's going to take you a lot of time to go through the process. And it's a very lengthy process that you don't want to go through. It may not be quite that bad this time because we had a really good turnout today at the convention. I don't know if that's going to be the same in the state, just because of the restrictions that everybody's got to go through. But to make it easy on you, we're going to put that on the party website so you can, the link for the party website so you can get registered before you show up. Yes, Ms. Gunn.
And related to that, if we didn't get your email and cell phone now, please get that to Lori Leonard so she can add it to the database so that
what she's saying is that back to the email and the phone number, you'll get that information. If you haven't already done it, you'll get that to Ms. Leonard. She'll get it recorded, and that way we'll have it. The worst thing in the world is not to have communication on this kind of stuff. Yes, Mr. Fowler?
For some of those people who just decided to go to the convention, heard a couple people mention they might be interested in sharing a room with someone. Maybe if they could send an email to the secretary and she could spread those names out. If anybody's interested in rooming with somebody else, they can maybe get together and share expenses or a ride.
Yeah, because parking at those hotels is not cheap.
Parking at the hotel is like $40 a night just for parking. 48.
Okay, in addition to that, considering rooms and reservations, we'll post, there's a young lady that's been trying to organize rooms and so forth for everybody. We'll put her contact information on the party website as well. I strongly encourage you to go to the party website. I mean, we just can't. It's difficult to make sure everybody gets the information. I don't want to leave anybody out. But the party website, very routinely, and on top of that, there's going to be a lot of changes. The election that's coming up, I expect another ruling to come down on this mail ballot situation. So kind of watch that. Emails coming. I got one last night, 5 o'clock. Just to let you know that these things are continuing to change routinely. So we'll keep it updated as well as we can to make sure that all of you know what's going on. Are there any other announcements or any other business that needs to be taken care of?
Jimmy, the only thing before we close, remember today is D-Day.
D-Day.
On this day in 1944, we invaded in Normandy and started the end of World War II. So anybody that's a veteran, we need to honor him and remember all those people.
Do I have any other announcements or business, Mr. Myers?
On Monday night, this coming Monday night, at the Cowboy Church in Athens, Texas, there's going to be a program there with Joanne Fleming and who is with Grassroots America on contact tracing. It's going to be a very, very informative program with her. In addition to that, there at the Cowboy Church, we're going to have Dr. Yvette Lozano, who has done this hydroxychloroquine, whatever, never say that word. She's treated way over 500 patients that's had this COVID-19. Or is it COVID-19? Anyway, she's done that, and with a success rate of 100%.
Amen.
And no hospital death. So, folks, when you hear about this medication that she's prescribing, that's a 100% success rate. In addition, we're going to have a program at the Alamo. We're really trying hard to save the cenotaph. That would be on June the 13th, Saturday at the Alamo at 10 o'clock. If you want any information on that, you want to go and help us out on that, please let me know. And then also on July the 4th, we're going to have a program, a rally, a Trump rally at Highway 19 in Canton, Texas, starting at 9 a.m. There's going to be a flag wave. It's going to be a program for Donald Trump, a rally for Donald Trump there, and that's first Monday down there. So you can come down for the rally and also get out and wave the flag there, you know, for the president, and go to the first Monday. Thank you very much. Yes. And Cowboy Church is on the loop. I don't know what they're looking, but when you go in on 175, the first, when you get there to the loop, it'll say loop so and so. I don't know the number.
Seven.
Loop number 7. Then take a left and go back east. And the Cowboy Church is about 2 or 3 miles down on the right hand side.
What time?
6:30. 6:30. Yes. And call me or whatever. If you want information on any of this, just give me a call or email me or whatever. Yes. Valerie, just put it on the website. Thank you.
One announcement, slides.
Yes, Stephen Stanley is also running for the other SREC position that Jason Ross is leading. And he's from Garland. Excuse my paper, I made all kinds of notes on it. Here's a partial list of Republican activities. He's worked with the SRC committee man John Cook from 98 to 2002. He's been a committee chairman of Rules Committee, Resolutions Committee, or Nomination Committee, 1998 to 2020. Served as a floor parliamentarian in the 2018 State Convention. He worked for Senator Hall's re-election campaign in 2018. And I can elaborate on that one. He's a very hard worker. I mean, anytime you call him, you need signs or need anything, he was door knocking, putting out signs, whatever he was doing for Senator Hall to get him re-elected. So he works very hard. And he's president of the Greater Garland Republican Organization, 2017 to the present. His elected positions: served on the Sac City Council, 98 to 2004. Served on the Garland City Council, 2013 to 2017. He ran for Dallas County Commissioner, District 1 in 2018. I don't know, he passed out some of these and he's going to leave some at the front desk and it has his phone number on there. If y'all want to call him and contact him, it also has an email. So
phone number. Here's the phone number.
Any more comments or announcements? Everybody get it back?
My name is Angela Singletary. I reside in Dallas County. So none of you guys should vote for me. I am running for Balch Springs City Council, the at-large position. My election would have been held in May, but because of COVID, it's now been pushed to November. Since Kaufman County is a pretty solidly red district, I implore every one of you to come and help out some of our candidates by walking and knocking on doors, because I truly believe that whenever we talk to voters one-on-one, we persuade them. I have decided to run. I've been involved in Republican politics since I graduated college from Yale Commerce in 2009. And I would appreciate it if any of you guys would like to get in contact with me. Come and see me in the back. Thank you so much. Angela Singletary, running for Balch Springs City Council.
Okay.
Alma Jackson. She is a Republican Party co-chair. She has done a fantastic job. We call her our outreach candidate for co-chair. That lady has been on the border. She's been recruiting Republicans. She recruited over 150 precinct chairs and trained them. And she is our current co-chair of the Republican Party of Texas. And I have just to ask you, please, let's put her back in there for one more term. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
Aye.